Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Left Field Mama, where I focus on parenting against the grain. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below and follow me in my unconventional parenting journey. So I wanted to share with you a situation that I came upon early in my children's childhood that you might relate to. When my children were just such a young age, I noticed that as they matured, they slowly refused to do things that they thought they might fail at, or they would try something new and not feel like they succeeded and they would just give up. And it just kind of slowly evolved like that. And it was something that really bothered me. And I don't know if you've noticed that with your own children, but oftentimes when we start something, they don't want to finish it, or you hear things like, I'm just not that good at it, or it's just so hard, or even I can't. And that was something that really disturbed me early on because, like you, I want my children to be successful in many things, and I want them to try new things. And so in digging in that attitude a little bit further, I discovered that my children were functioning in a fixed mindset. And really what I was wanting for my children was to have a growth mindset thinking. Okay, so if you already know what growth mindset is, kudos to you. If it's a new term for you, and it was for me, let me explain it just a little further. So essentially there are two different ways of thinking. The first one is growth mindset, and that is the belief that you can obtain a new skill or ability through lots of trial and error and through perseverance. So children with this type of mindset, they don't give up easy. They take their classes and they work really hard, and failure doesn't set them back, and they just really push through because they believe that they can learn this new skill. Fixed mindset is the belief that you're born with a fixed trait. So essentially, there's no more action required. You are just really great at what you're doing, and you don't really have to try any harder. So you can see how that might be a little bit challenging for children as they're learning new skills. If a child, like mine, is trying to learn a new skill and they believe that they are not the best at it and they fail at it with a fixed mindset thinking, they're just going to give up because they believe that they'll never be able to achieve it. So you could probably look at your own children, yourself, and your family culture and determine if you are a growth mindset family or a fixed mindset family. One thing that I have noticed is in our home, with our culture and with a lot of the social media platforms, it's really easy to become a fixed mindset family. I know with my husband and I, we definitely struggled with that. For me, platforms like Pinterest was a great example. You see these amazing projects that people have done, and then you try them. And for me, I'd have a few Pinterest fails, and usually it was kind of like, okay, this is not for me. And I didn't even realize that that was teaching my children to have a fixed mindset. So once we identified that our children were functioning at a fixed mindset, we had to really dig deep to figure out how we could change that. And what we discovered was that moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset really takes the whole family. It must be a culture that comes from the top down. We can't just tell our children that they need to keep trying if we aren't doing the same thing. So what we found that worked really well in our family is we started creating a culture. And what we did was we spent time being that role model for our children, which meant that we talked about our failures and we tried new things that were uncomfortable. And as we tried those new things, if we failed at them, it became part of our conversation in our home. It became a positive thing and not something that was so scary. We talked with our children about what we could do next time to try something different. We also spent a lot of time with our children praising their progress and not focusing so much on the end result of what they were doing. Anytime that you can praise your child for what they're doing and the process is going to really help open them up to that growth mindset thinking. Some other things that we did to cultivate the growth mindset thinking in our family is we encouraged our children to try new things, to stretch themselves. And even when it was hard, we cheerleaded them on. We talk about mistakes like we talk about results. We don't let that be a shameful thing. And we also spent some time teaching our children about the brain, teaching them that the hard things that we do are building neurons, that our brain is a muscle, and the harder things are, the more challenging they are, the more neurons we're building. And that gives them something to hold on to so that as we're cultivating this new thinking process, it's something we can go back to. So now that you know a little bit about growth mindset thinking and fixed mindset thinking, I would really encourage you to take a look at your family and determine which one you think your family functions on. If you're really interested in the growth mindset and you haven't established it yet, I'm so excited to share this information with you, and I would encourage you to stay tuned and check out my video next week where I'm going to share with you some things that our family has installed weekly that have really made a difference with our children and even with ourselves with growth mindset thinking. Hey, thanks for joining me today. If you haven't already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and join me in my journey of unconventional parenting. You're not going to want to miss all my weekly posts where I'll be sharing with you all kinds of cool out-of-the-box parenting tips.